Could one of the world's largest armies be destroyed by a silent, invisible light? At first, it sounds like a science fiction movie, but the real shock doesn't end there. In the early days, there were only three things on the Ukrainian front lines: artillery, missiles, armor. Putin burned that playbook in one fell swoop. Swarms of Shahed drones darkened the sky. Cruise missiles struck Kyiv at every dawn. The strategy was simple: crush, destroy, push. But that massive, ruthless meat grinder is now working in reverse. From the bloody trenches of 2022 to today, the conditions have completely changed. This evolution didn't happen overnight. Each new system was the result of tragic costs paid in death zones, of blood spilled. The rusty Soviet legacy was thrown away. Right now, hybrid UAVs are hunting in the sky. Sea drones are turning the Black Sea into a massive hell. 4 critical systems that rewrote the fate of the war were born from these deadly ashes. Imagine, midnight. Death is raining down from the sky. Enemy drones are approaching silently. There is no human on the other side, just a machine. Suddenly, an invisible light flashes, and the threat melts away in seconds. The primary threat is that very light protecting the sky: lasers. The enemy is bleeding on the battlefield, and the bleeding won't stop. Lockheed Martin's Helios from the US, 60,000 watts of pure fury. It flashes like lightning from the deck of the USS Preble. It melts a drone in seconds. The cost is just under $1. Britain's Dragonfire enters the scene with a 50-kilowatt dragon's breath. It incinerates targets traveling at 650 kilometers per hour at a cost of just £1. It will enter service on Type 45 destroyers in 2027. The world's most expensive toys are delivering the cheapest punishment in the sky. So what does this mean? While massive budgets are being discussed in this global arms race worth billions of dollars, Ukraine has produced its own deadly light. This week, at this very moment, the rules are being rewritten on the front lines. And Kyiv is independently achieving the technology that Western corporations have been working on for years. Stay tuned, because the systems you're about to see will shatter all the war rules you know. Right in the midst of this helplessness, Sunray, the silent technology that fundamentally changes the rules, has emerged in Ukraine. Kyiv has shown that the waves of attacks unleashed by the Russian army's shaded missiles can be blocked by a simple device powered by a lawnmower engine. The critical moment you are about to see is the kind that will keep all military strategists in the Kremlin awake at night. Because this situation exposes a flawless vulnerability. The most exotic, surprising, and deadly part of this mechanism was the laser air defense complex called Sunray. Sunray bears no resemblance to the bright red beam-emitting loud laser weapons we see in movies. This system operates completely silently. It emits no visible light. When fired, there is no dramatic explosion sound. It is simply a small, compact, and deadly energy concentrator that could fit in the trunk of a car. The system's setup resembles a simple hobby telescope, with a few sensitive cameras attached to its sides. The cameras locate the target in the sky, lock onto it, and the operator simply presses a single button. Within seconds, that deadly drone hundreds of meters away crashes to the ground, engulfed in flames as if struck by an invisible lightning bolt. It's that simple, clean, and cheap. Ukraine, meanwhile, is preparing to turn these mathematical calculations upside down with Sunray. The rules in the sky have completely changed, and those setting the new rules are not the suit-and-tie corporate executives winning massive defense contracts in Washington. The architects of this new and dark era are the nameless heroes working in the mud to survive: Ukrainian engineers. For engineers, the most important detail regarding lasers is cost. It took the US Navy 4 years to develop its famous Helios laser system, and Lockheed Martin was paid $150 million. Ukrainian engineers, however, created the Sunray prototype in just 2 years, with a limited budget of a few $1,000,000. Moreover, the unit cost of this system in mass production will be only a few $100,000. Experts from the European Council on Foreign Relations note that this cost reduction will have a seismic impact on the global arms market. Colonel Pavlo Yelizarov, deputy commander of the Ukrainian Air Force, summarizes the reason for this striking difference very clearly. In an exclusive interview with The Atlantic magazine, Yelizarov uses these shocking words: "Many American companies work for money. For them, it's a business. They get their money. We have another factor, the need to survive, so we move faster." This is not just a statement, It could be a milestone that changes the cumbersome structure of the global defense industry. Of course, Kyiv's logic here is very clear. To survive, you have to constantly revolutionize the military industry. The main reason for this is Russia's drone and missile barrage on many cities, especially Kyiv. For this reason, the Ukrainians have discovered additional laser systems, in addition to Sunray, that can protect against Russia's drone attacks. Another laser system being developed, Trident, operates at higher power levels, and this system has the potential to neutralize missile warheads. Trident stands out as a critical element that saves Ukraine's air defense from saturation in the face of Russia's daily attacks with hundreds of drones. As we can see, lasers strengthen defense in unexpected and incredible ways. It is worth noting that the Kremlin is not sitting idle on this issue. It is known that Russia's aerospace forces are developing their own laser systems, Peresvet and Zadira, in response to Sunray and Trident. However, experts point out that Russian systems mostly function as dazzlers and have limited physical destruction capabilities. Ukraine is aware that one day these Russian lasers could also become effective in the race. This situation has pushed Kyiv towards systems that are easier to use, more effective, and can be deployed in swarms. This brings us to rocket drones, or missile UAV hybrids. These systems combine the range and accuracy of traditional cruise missiles with the flexibility and low cost of unmanned aerial vehicles. Ukraine's flagship in this field, the Palianytsia, can reach speeds of 900 kilometers per hour with its turbojet engine and has a range of 650 kilometers. Weighing 320 kilograms, this system can carry a 100-kilogram warhead and finds its target using a GPS/INS guidance system. One of Palyantytsia's biggest advantages is its low cost and suitability for mass production. Ukraine aims to produce 3,000 of these systems by 2025, with each costing less than $1 million. This is equivalent to 1/10 the price of traditional cruise missiles. Zelensky announced that this system has already turned dozens of Russian targets to ashes. The result? A full 20% fuel shortage in Russia's energy infrastructure. Now the targets are much clearer. Military air bases deep within Russia, massive fuel depots, strategic logistics centers. Palianytsia is striking Putin's war economy right at its heart. So what does this mean? Russian logistics lines are in complete chaos. Supply lines to the front lines are being cut off. The Russian war machine is literally bleeding out, and Palianytsia, with its ruthless capabilities, is rewriting the rules of the front. Every Russian target within a 650-kilometer radius will be exposed to the effects of this weapon. The Peklo drone missile has a range of 700 kilometers and a warhead capacity of 800 kilograms. Ruda, with a range of 250 kilometers, has been successfully used against naval platforms and is being prepared for serial production. Among the targets hit by these systems are the port of Novorossiysk, Russian oil refineries, and ammunition depots. These types of UAVs in particular have the potential to change the course of the war with their ability to strike military bases and logistics centers deep inside Russia. In the future, these drones are expected to target strategic facilities and air bases near Moscow. The Kremlin is aware of this situation, and Putin has so far been helpless against Ukrainian rocket UAVs. Nevertheless, the Russian army has tried to find different solutions to this problem. Measures developed by Russia against the threat of Ukrainian rocket UAVs include electronic warfare systems and the intensified use of S-400 air defense missiles. However, Ukraine's Tercom-like terrain-following navigation systems have the ability to overcome GPS jamming. This transformation on land and in the air is also evident on the maritime front. Without a traditional naval force, Ukraine has developed expertise that has changed the course of the naval war in the Black Sea. Maritime drones, or unmanned surface vehicles, USVs, have become one of the most effective elements of Ukraine's asymmetric warfare strategy. Systems developed since 2022, such as Sea Baby, Magura V5, Mamai, and Sub-Sea Baby, have succeeded in pushing back Russia's Black Sea fleet. The Sea Baby unmanned naval vehicle in particular was initially designed as a simple kamikaze drone, but has since evolved into a multi-purpose platform. This drone has a range of 1,500 kilometers, a payload capacity of 2,000 kilograms, and an AI-assisted targeting system. It can carry Grad rocket launchers, machine gun turrets, and even torpedoes. The Magura V5 stands out as the main naval drone of the Ukrainian intelligence agency, HUR. This system, which can reach a range of 800 kilometers and a speed of 80 kilometers per hour, can carry a 250-kilogram warhead. According to HUR, Magura drones struck 18 Russian ships, 9 of which sustained irreparable damage. Among the ships hit were the missile corvette Ivanovets, the landing ship Caesar Kunikov, and the patrol ship Sergei Kotov. Sergei Kotov was sunk by 5 Magura drones simultaneously in the Kerch Strait, and this ship, worth $65 million, was completely lost. However, the most notable development occurred in December 2025. The Ukrainian security service struck a Russian Kilo-class submarine anchored in the port of Novorossiysk with an underwater drone called Sub-Sea Baby. This marks the first time in history that an underwater unmanned vehicle has targeted a submarine. The submarine, worth between $400 and $500 million, suffered critical damage and was rendered unusable. This attack was the culmination of strategic pressure, forcing Russia's Black Sea Fleet to withdraw from Sevastopol to Novorossiysk. These systems directly affect the future of Crimea. The peninsula, controlled by Russia since 2014, is now under threat from these sea drones. Ukraine is also targeting Russian oil tankers known as the Shadow Fleet. The tankers Kairos and Virat were hit by Sea Baby drones, seriously disrupting oil transportation in the Black Sea. In the future, Ukraine's naval drones are expected to carry out operations targeting Russian ports, bridges, and even Russian trade routes in the Mediterranean. Russia's response to this threat, the Sirius 82 and similar naval drones, has not yet matched Ukraine's capabilities. Intelligence reports from the UK Ministry of Defense indicate that Russian naval drones are still in their early stages and that Ukraine maintains its asymmetric superiority. Ukraine, which has continuously increased its attack capacity since the beginning of the war, has also taken a revolutionary step in the field of defense. At this point, we come to the biggest innovation in the field of defense, namely, the drone wall. Ukraine is transferring its superiority in offensive weapons to defense. The DWS-1, developed by French startup company Trident, will be actively used in Ukraine for the first time in the world. This system allows a single operator to control 100 drones simultaneously. The system consists of 200 FPV-type interceptor drones and has an AI-powered command system. When radars detect a threat, these drones form a curtain or wall in layers in the sky. When an incoming Russian drone or glider bomb, KAB, hits this wall, the FPV drones turn towards the target and detonate, destroying it. One of the system's biggest advantages is that it can operate independently of GPS. Each drone carries a 3D map of its area of responsibility and is resistant to Russian electronic warfare systems. Additionally, unused drones can return to base after the mission and be reused. This is a revolutionary feature from an economic standpoint. A Patriot missile costs between $2 and $4 million per launch, and whether it hits the target or not, that money is gone. However, with the DWS-1, when a swarm of 100 drones takes off, 10 hit the target, and the remaining 90 return, ready for the next attack. The system was developed specifically to counter Iranian-made Shahed drones and Russian glide bombs. This system, a finalist in the NATO innovation competition, could form the basis of a large-scale drone wall project on Europe's eastern border following tests in Ukraine. Measures Russia could develop against this system include its own AI-powered drone swarms, advanced electronic warfare systems, and directed energy weapons. However, at present, the Kremlin has no effective countermeasure against the DWS-1. When we bring all these systems together, we see a fundamental shift in Ukraine's war doctrine. The country is no longer just an ally receiving weapons from the West, but has become a power center capable of exporting its own military technology. As Zelensky announced, Ukraine plans to open 10 joint weapons production facilities in Europe by 2026. Under the drone deal with the US, Ukraine aims to produce 10 million drones per year and establish a $50 billion framework. As for how these weapons could change the course of the war, several scenarios stand out. The first is economic attrition warfare. Ukraine's low-cost drones and laser weapons could economically deplete Russia's expensive missile and air defense systems. While a Shahed drone costs $20,000 to $50,000, an S-400 missile costs millions of dollars. This cost asymmetry could weaken Russia's ability to sustain the war in the long term. Second, strategic depth. Long-range systems such as Palianytsia give Ukraine the ability to strike targets near Moscow. This threatens Russian command centers and logistics lines, limiting the Russian army's maneuverability. Third, naval superiority. Ukraine's naval drones have made the Black Sea an unsafe area for the Russian fleet. This allows Ukraine to safely continue its grain exports and deal a blow to the Russian economy. Fourth, air defense. Systems such as the DWS-1 protect Ukraine's critical infrastructure, reducing the impact of Russian bombardments. This boosts civilian morale and counterbalances the war's debilitating effects. Experts note that Ukraine's innovations will shape NATO's future defense doctrine. The European Commission has expanded its proposal to establish a drone wall on the EU's eastern border into a continental initiative. Andrius Kubilius, EU Defense Commissioner, says Ukraine is a leader in unmanned technologies and is teaching us how to win tomorrow's wars. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte defines Ukraine as a powerhouse in innovation, anti-drone, and cyber threats. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius announced that they are aiming for rapid production to develop inexpensive drone defense systems. Polish Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz stated that drones have revolutionized warfare and that they will develop inexpensive AI-based systems. However, all these developments do not prevent us from overlooking the challenges Ukraine faces. Russia is constantly increasing its electronic warfare capabilities and is neutralizing some of Ukraine's drones. In addition, Russian missile strikes are hitting some Ukrainian production facilities, leading to a loss of capacity. However, Ukraine is mitigating this risk by moving its production lines to Europe. As a result, these 4 specialized weapon systems developed by Ukraine are changing the face of modern warfare. Laser weapons, rocket drones, naval drones, and drone walls are overturning the traditional understanding of military superiority. These systems not only strengthen Ukraine's defense, but also offer important lessons on how future wars will be shaped. By contributing this knowledge base, gained through a difficult process and tragedy, to the development of Europe's and NATO's defense capabilities, Ukraine is becoming an indispensable part of the global security architecture. The fate of war will now be determined not only by tanks and artillery units, but also by algorithms, autonomous systems, and artificial intelligence. Ukraine is going down in history as one of the pioneers of this new era. What do you think? Will Ukraine's death machines bring peace, or will they merely shape the new face of war? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more, because the arsenal is not yet closed. Presented by TGN.